I urge you to consider this next novel I'm going to present to you very, very seriously. Just kidding. Tonight we're going to take a look at Robert Asprin's 1978 inaugural myth novel, In Another Fine Myth. Now, what a wonderful change of pace this has been. So, I don't talk much about my fantasy likes, but I've been a really big Terry Pratchett fan ever since I was in my sort of early 20s. And I've always enjoyed reading Terry Pratchett. And it was only just recently that I discovered this Robert Asprin. I was just reading, doing research on some books that I would like to read in the future. And I came across Robert Asprin's Wikipedia page. And one of the things that really jumped out at me is that Robert Asprin died quite young. He was in his 60s when he passed away of a heart attack. But Wikipedia at least suggests that he was found with a Terry Pratchett novel still open next to him on his side bed, on his couch. So I looked at that and I thought, you know, what a guy, right? He loved his science fiction, he loved his fantasy, and he died literally reading one of the all-time great humor fantasy novelists of all time in Terry Pratchett. And I thought, I've really got to give Robert Asprin a try. And I'm so glad I did. I've really enjoyed Another Fine Myth. And I've bought several others in my list behind me here that I hope to get through as well. But I can see myself definitely buying the whole series. So this novel really follows this young apprentice magician called Skeeve. And Skeeve has been struggling. He's not the greatest magician there has ever been. And he can almost levitate a feather, and he's really struggling with it. And he's working under the mentor in this guy, this magician called Garkin. So Garkin is taking him on as an apprentice. And they're having a bit of a dispute because Skeeves really thinks that, you know, this magician's life is not really for me. I really just want to get good at magic so I can better my my thievery, right? He wants to become a professional thief. And Garkin sort of takes insult to that and sort of explains to him, hey, you know, you don't know half of this. There are multiple different dimensions out there, and, you know, just because this dimension that you're in doesn't really talk to magic, or magic is not prevalent in this particular dimension, you don't know what's out there. And to prove you wrong, I'm going to summon a demon. I'm going to summon a demon, and you're going to see just how terrifying things can be. And Garkin does exactly that. He starts his spell, and he begins to summon a demon. And as he's doing that, an assassin, a hired assassin, breaks into their hut. And Garkin and this assassin basically have a shootout, and they both kill each other. And Skeeves is sort of left there thinking, oh, okay, what do I do next? And whilst he's thinking this, the demon materializes because the spell is still in action, and this demon materializes and starts staring him down. And Skeeves is rather surprised when the demon is a pretty jovial guy and says, hey, how you going? What's going on? You know, what's happening? And he's sort of looking at this guy thinking, okay, pretty spooky, right? You look like a demon, but you don't sound like a demon. What exactly is going on here? And what we find is that Garkin is actually summoned this demon in a guy called Oz, or Oz. And Oz is one of Garkin's friends. And Garkin was literally playing a practical joke on both Oz and Skeeves. So he summoned this guy to sort of spook Skeeves a bit, but they sort of know each other from times. And what we learn is that demons are nothing other than the colloquial term for multi-dimensional travelers, right? So that's who Oz is. He's this multi-dimensional traveler, and he's having a discussion with Skeeve, and they sort of learned that, hey, poor old Garkin is no longer with us, he's dead. And in the process, what we find is that Garkin was actually playing a practical joke on Oz, and he's taken away all his powers. So now we're left there with this Skeeves, young newbie apprentice magician, with this multi-dimensional traveler demon in Oz from the planet Perv, and it's absolutely brilliant. because he's not a pervert, which the book goes on to say, but he's a pervect. And don't you go mixing the two together, because everyone knows that if you're from Perv, you're a pervect, not a pervert, no matter what anyone says. So that's sort of some of the humour that goes on in the novel. So as they go on in their journey, they're trying to bring the crew together and ultimately have a face-off with this Istvan guy. So look, yeah, it's just a very light read, like nothing to really take seriously. It's just over 200 pages, bang on 200 pages actually, so just 200 pages. But it's sort of, like I said, it sort of builds, I think, what will be the crew that goes on these journeys together in the subsequent novels. But I just really, really enjoyed it. So what did I like? What didn't I like? Recommendations. So like I said, I think it's no real mystery that the novel is just fun. I think it was a good diversion just from your heavy sci-fi or science fiction in general, or even your fantasy novels, right? It's just one of those novels that you can pick up and read through, and you just don't have to think about it, right? And the jokes and the puns that are in the novel, for me, came very, very effortless. They're just fun, and there were a couple of them that really didn't have me laughing out loud. So just very enjoyable read. So I really liked the world building. I thought the world and the multiple dimensions were just a whole lot of fun. I really liked the play and the puns around the planets and where these people came from, and some of them are just absolutely classic. I loved them. I also really liked the main character, one of the main protagonists there in Oz. I thought he was just perfectly sarcastic, right? He had this level of sarcasm that I really enjoyed, and I think Skeeve had this sense of innocence and spark that I really appreciated as well. And some of the other characters were just spot on. I really did just enjoy that light-hearted character and world building in this novel. I would say that the ending, when the final showdown with Istvan, I think it wasn't so much a letdown, but I think it felt a little rushed for me. I thought there could have been a little bit more build-up and tension in that space when it came to the main, the main villain in this novel, in Istvan. It may be that he comes up again in some of the other books. Like I said, I haven't read this series. This is a first for me. But I thought like that Istvan, sort of the final couple of chapters, didn't quite have me on edge like I thought they were going to be. But look, not taking anything away from it, I thought it was just nicely, just light-hearted reading. So who would I recommend this novel to then? Look, I think if you're a science fiction guy who's looking to just take a short break from science fiction, and you want to sort of read something that is light-hearted, not too difficult to comprehend, and just give your brain a bit of a rest, I can't go past Robert Asprin's The Myth, I Never Find Myth. If you like Terry Pratchett, I think for me the obvious recommendation is, if you read a lot of Terry Pratchett and you enjoy his works, I would say that you will 100% enjoy Robert Asprin as well. I would say that Robert Asprin's work, when it compared to Terry Pratchett's, is not as complex. I think Terry Pratchett, he's a very good writer, Terry Pratchett, and I think some of his themes and some of his puns and jokes were a bit more sophisticated. You had to sort of, I want to say think about him, but there was more maturity to his puns and to some of his jokes. Where I think this was written for a younger audience, right? So I would say where Terry Pratchett was arguably written for an adult reader base. This I would say is more late teens, teenage type years, but it definitely didn't take away from my enjoyment of this novel. So like I said, I'm really looking forward to reading the others in this list. I can't put it to the memory test like I normally do these novels, because this is new to me, which is a bit odd considering it was written in 1978. I don't know, I'm not quite sure how he escaped me, and honestly I can't even tell you exactly what made me fall on his Wikipedia page. It was just one of those random surfing the internet, literally clicking away, and I found myself at Robert Asprin's website, and geez, I'm glad I did. So I'm hoping this will inspire you to read something new if you haven't done so before in Robert Asprin. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think the cover arts in these novels, one of the reasons why I didn't hesitate buying them is I just think the cover art is just perfect. Absolutely love it. I'm not quite sure who did the actual cover art. See if I can quickly find it on the cover for you here. So yeah, I've just found it there. The illustration actually by someone called Fangorn. Yeah, I haven't read about Fangorn. I'm going to do a bit of research into that actually, because I really do enjoy the cover arts as well. So another thing that I really found enjoyable is at the beginning of every chapter, he starts off with a little quote from famous people throughout history. And let me read one out to you, and you tell me whether or not this is a real quote or not. But I just found him really humorous at the beginning of every chapter. In times of crisis, it is utmost importance not to lose one's head. M. Antoinette. One's like this. So I just found it gold. So like I said, highly recommended read. Out of 5, we can't do the Hugo Nebula Award ranking thing that we got here, so I'm not going to go through my whole criteria, but I'm going to give this novel a 4 out of 5. Purely based on enjoyment. I just found it a very light, enjoyable read. It had me laughing out loud. It just a wonderful break from science fiction and fantasy proper, and it just built that wonderful word that was full of puns that I just really enjoyed, and I'm really looking forward to reading the sequels in this novel. Hey, just a very quick one. If you enjoyed that, please let me know, and I'm happy to follow that up with some others in the novel. Hey, it's been Peter, this has been The Shed, and I'll see you next time in the Sci-Fi Shed with some real science fiction coming back at you.